is one of them days where I'm really grateful I got air conditioning out here. It is 106 degrees in the shade here today. And I'm indoors, not outside working, like I had to do for years, like 25 years of my life. So, needless to say, I'm here being grateful that my Patreons are here to support us. And we get to enjoy this video ad-free. If you want to help support the channel, please come subscribe to Patreon. Follow the link on the screen below. We're going to do a twofer here. We're going to do a Texas Star 350, and we're going to do a Fat Boy 2-pill and a 1-pill cabinet. It's got two MRF 454s in it. We're going to do basic power wire upgrades and just kind of polish the turd a little bit on both of these. Not saying that that's a turd or this a turd. We're just going to put my touches on it a little bit, right? So what we've got going on is we got the 350 in line. We got 8 gauge coming over to this connector. I hate these things, by the way, but that's what people are still out there using them. Big wire going shitty connector. All I'm going to say. We've got an electric tape splice. Hey, as long as it's soldered on the inside. I don't want to move this around too much because when I got to looking down inside the amp, I couldn't help but notice a little wire that's hanging off. I don't know if you can see this or not. You probably will be able to. There's a wire that's hanging off the power wire here, and it's just kind of floating in free space. But I want to hook this up and run it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this Texas Star. I haven't tested that yet, but preamp is working, the dial-a-watt works, and it makes about 320 watts. So we've got the bench 2950 hooked up, which does about this much drive. Hello, 1, 2, about 22 watts. Texas Star, hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Does exactly what it's advertised to do, about 350 watts. No shocker there, no miracle. What we do got going on is a standard Texas Star input tune. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now on the sliding scale of SWR, 22 watts going in and 2 watts coming back is not the greatest thing in the whole wide world. I mean, it's not life or death. It's not the greatest thing in the whole wide world. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the power wire upgrades. We're going to get rid of this stupid fuse. If you're going to put a fuse, put it at the battery. Don't put it here. Put it at the battery. Don't put it here. Put it at the battery. Don't put it here. We're going to get rid of this little pencil dick wire. We're going to give it a little bit of a power wire upgrade. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this one cap. That's right here. And we'll see if we can get the input tune to come down a little bit lower. Maybe, I don't know, like 1/4 watt, something that's a little bit more realistic, and we'll see if we can pick up more watts. So we're seeing right at about 349, 350 watts. And we'll see if we can get a little bit more out of it. Remember, our voltage is set at 15 flat, so 14.9. By the time it gets down, the amp's probably 14.2. So, okay, let me do my thing. I want to show this real fast. We haven't changed the input tune at all. This cap has stayed the same. The only thing we did is we upgraded the power wire going into the amplifier. Okay? And we changed and added another piece of wire going to the back of the transformer. So we left the stock wires in place. We brought in bigger power wire, heavier gauge. Okay? Heavier gauge wire. Soldered it in place, and then just added this piece of 12 gauge going to the back of the ferrite on the transformer. We have not changed anything else. Let's turn the amp off. Let's go look at drive. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Same. Exactly the same. Remember, we're getting 340 to 350 watts out of this, right? So just by changing the power wire period and getting rid of the bottleneck in the design. Now we're getting a solid 400 out of it. And to prove my point, we'll go up here, we'll take a look at the input tune to prove that that hasn't changed. Exact same amount of input reflect. 1, 2. Now where our gain is coming from is that there is not as much voltage drop to the part. Be like, well, what's 50 watts? It's not a big deal. 50 watts means a lot. If you had a 16 pill and you do these same kind of modifications to it, it's really simple, man. Really simple. An extra 400 watts out of the box or another 200 bird. Just by changing the frickin' power wire design, you guys. I'm telling you. And to make sure it's all there on Front Street, our voltages are all the same, 14, floating 15, just like it was before. We're showing our reflect from the dummy load. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's little to no current going through this wire. Maybe 18, 20, I think 23, 24 amps, something like that at the most. The loss is in the connectors and the loss is in the traces and the electrical system inside the amp, right? So like a 667, you hook it up stock, you get 650 watts out of it, right? Do a power wire upgrade to it, now it's a 750 watt box just by changing the wire. Are the power wire upgrades worth it? Yeah. Transistors are going to stay cooler. They're going to work more efficiently. They're going to last longer. Amp's going to do more watts. Everybody's happier. Food for thought, right? Remember, fuse at the battery, not at the amplifier. The shit, why, goddamn. This particular circuit's got a diode in it. It's got the transistors. If it ever sees reverse polarity, the transistors pop open like immediately. They're like a super weak link. What's the point of putting a fuse right here at the back of the cabinet? 0. You fuse at the battery and you oversize. So if you have 20 amps worth of draw, you can put a 50 amp fuse there. You got a 50 amp draw, you put a 100 amp fuse there. You got a 100 amp draw, you put a 200 amp. Then you got to go to breakers. You got a 200 amp draw, you get a 400 amp breaker. And then from there you got to start breaking them down, because about the biggest breaker that you can buy commercially without getting super exotic and really expensive for 12 volts is about 500 amp. Okay, so 500 amp, put a 1000 amp load there. Breaker. Simple. But not at the amp. All right, I'm done preaching. Let's go play with the input tune. Power wires, power wire upgrade, worth it. Fact.